Hi everyone, welcome to another video. This is Mr. Chow from EnglishTuition.org. Now in today's video, we're going to talk about how to score distinctions in PSLE composition. I prepared a quick checklist. So we'll run through the checklist very quickly, and then you can see for yourself, whether you're able to score well for this particular exercise. All right. So let's start off with looking at what distinction means, right? You want to know for primary level what distinction actually means in terms of score. Okay, and now for PSLE, the grading system have moved on from the old aggregate system to the achievement levels, right? And to score a distinction typically means to score AL1, AL2, or AL3, and that means they should be scoring at least 80% and above. Now the composition components, when the kids get to do the exercise, okay, this exercise is marked upon 40 marks. All right, so students should be able to get an overall score of 32 out of 40, right, in order to be considered having a distinction in composition. All right, but the typical scores, that's from speaking from experience, okay, the typical scores that I see for most of my students are range between 24 to 29. So if they're scoring like 24, right, there's a gap between where they want to go and where they are now. But if they are already scoring 29, and I have seen some students getting stuck at a 29 upon 40 score, and they find it very difficult, okay, to go beyond 30 and above consistently. All right, I think this is where they may need a little bit of help, okay, to help them figure out how to actually score beyond. So if their best score is 29 upon 40, so they might linger between, say, 28, 27, and then 29 again, right? But they never go past 30. So that's the time where maybe getting a bit of guidance and help from either the teachers or the tutors, and that may help them boost the scores, right, above 30, right? So once they are able to get above 30, we are very close now to hitting the target, which is 32 upon 40. Okay. So let's start with the checklist, right? Let's get the obvious out of the way. Okay, the very first point that we have here is that, of course, you want students to have accurate use of language. That means grammar, spelling, etc., sentence structures. Okay, all this should be impeccable. Okay, you don't want to have a great story, okay, but you can't express your ideas in good grammar, and then it contains a ton of spelling mistakes, then you can kiss your distinction goodbye, right? There's no chance of getting a distinction if you do that, right? Second item on my checklist is that, have you chosen a good story? Okay, and some students have a poor idea of what a good story looks like, and these are typical students who don't enjoy reading, right? So they don't have this awareness, okay, of what a good story looks like, okay, and they kind of think that they are free to write anything they want. Well, to a certain extent, okay, but still you have to stick to the principles of what a good story looks like. So it's best that students, that's highly recommend, okay, that students go out, okay, and read some good model compositions, okay, and read more storybooks, okay, and then they can do reflection and ask themselves, which are the stories that they enjoy, right? What makes this a good story? All right, and then they can model after these stories and write good compositions for themselves. Okay. Third item, great choice of words, phrases, expressions. Again, this is often a neglected item for a lot of students. Okay, it's not just writing and meeting the minimum word count and then my job is done. All right, even if you have perfect grammar, okay, but you are always using words that are like very simple. Sentence structures are very simple, right? Okay, instead of using good adjectives, right? Good similes, for example. Okay, and then use it in the right context. Okay, that will help you boost your language scores, okay, for your composition. Okay, reasonable and logical response to the given situation, right? So, well, the student, being the writer himself or herself, is the one who created this situation in the composition, right? For example, the student may be writing about an accident, okay, or maybe writing about a bully, okay, or a visit to the beach, whatever, right? Okay, and sometimes I find that during the course of my teaching, okay, students they are not very in tune, okay, with the situation. In other words, they don't know how to come up with a reasonable or sensible response to the very situation that they have created, right? So for example, if they're writing about an accident, okay, so now we have an accident, we have a victim, right? That's the situation. What happens next, right? And as the main character of the story, how should he or she be responding? That's what I mean by having a reasonable response. I find that sometimes these things have to be taught, okay, because they're kids, they're very young, right? All the students are like primary 5, primary 6. They may not have experienced these situations before, and they might choose illogical responses. Okay, many of them are very playful, so they tend to choose playful responses, right? Turn the story into a comedy, all right? And that's not always the right thing to do, okay? And it can affect the overall grade of the composition, okay? You want the story overall, okay, to sound reasonable and logical, okay? All right, then after you have the climax, okay, and you want to end off the story, and I sometimes find that students are not able to come out with some sensible conclusions, right? And then they just end the story abruptly. Okay, I think that's partly attributed to the fact that they don't have a systematic way, okay, of adding the story. And sometimes these conclusions need to be discussed, okay, with an adult, okay, so that the adult can give them the correct guidance. Okay, how should we end the story? And for every story, there are numerous possible endings. Okay, there's not only one. Okay, so but as long as the conclusion is sensible, okay, I feel the student has done a good job. All right. Okay, finally, and this is more of just a reminder. Some students, they get carried away when they write their PSLE composition, and they forgot about the theme that had been given to them. Right. Okay, so remember, right, the upcoming PSLE examination, if you're going to sit for the national exam, please make sure that your writing is very focused on the theme so that you're not writing out of point. Okay, if you have perfect grammar, very good language, good choice of story, but you forgot about the theme, all right? You wrote a story that was not answering the question, and that could lead you down the path of maybe getting a borderline pass, okay, or even a direct failure, okay, because well, you're not answering the question. Okay, you need to answer the question. So make sure that writing is very focused on the theme. Okay, don't forget about the theme. Okay, with that said, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 check boxes, right? Just run through in your head that have you been able to achieve, okay, all these items on my checklist. Okay, and sometimes I think it's easier said than done, right? You see me talking about this, you think, oh, it's very easy, but the actual exercise of writing, for some students, it can be very challenging. But I think let me give you some suggestions on how we can achieve this. All right. So how to prepare for PSLE composition writing? Okay, practice with commonly tested themes. All right. So for me, my teaching, my students, I've identified about 21 commonly tested themes. Okay, and I want all my students given enough time to go through all the themes, okay, especially when they're in P5, P6. So we start from P5, run them through all the themes, make sure that they practice all the themes. And sometimes if, for certain themes, if they've not done well, okay, I may ask them to repeat as well. Okay, so they get a ton of practice. So you can do the same for yourself. Try to identify what are the commonly tested themes, okay, and then do some practice. Learn how to develop compositions in a systematic manner, right? Systematic doesn't mean that it's something that is cast in stone, that makes your writing very rigid, okay, and very inflexible. Okay, systematic means you have a few steps, okay, as a guideline to provide some structure to your composition, and at the same time help you save a lot of time, right? Because you're not always thinking about what to write next. You have a structure, you have a plan. Okay, you just need to follow the plan. All right, that will really take out a lot of the stress out of composition writing. Well, read more model compositions, okay, especially when you want to improve upon your own compositions. In the beginning, you want to learn from other expert writers, those people who can write well. Right, so one way to do it is to read more, okay, from model compositions, and one of the fastest ways to do it, right? I mean, you can borrow model compositions from the top student in class, right? But how many compositions can you read? How many themes can you go through, right? Maybe not enough. Okay, so you may need to buy some books, okay, and start to read more, right? And this is especially useful. And in fact, for my students, every one of my students, I have my own worksheet, so no matter what, they will read some model compositions. And on top of that, I encourage them to really go and buy some books for themselves, okay, and then read the model compositions. For secondary school students, this is a compulsory activity for all those in the secondary level. They need to read more model essays. Explore possible plots for any given theme. Okay, so I think this helps with developing the interest of the student, okay, when it comes to storytelling, right? You can see that for any given theme, an accident, a bully, right? There are so many possibilities, okay, and there are so many different variations of the story, okay. So don't just think that, oh, I have written a story about a celebration before, and then that's it, my practice is done, right? But you can always go back and think on how can I improve on this story, right? What are some possible plots? How about a prank, right? You're playing a prank on a friend, okay? How is a prank A versus prank B versus C and D, etc., etc., right? So explore possible plots for any given theme, and this will surely help you improve and get creative, right? And can improve your creativity as well along the way. Of course, work hard to strengthen your grammar. Okay, that goes without saying. You can, like I said, you could have the best stories in your head, right? And I've worked with students who are like that. They're very creative, very imaginative. I enjoy reading their stories. But when I read the composition, it's full of grammar mistakes, full of spelling mistakes. Okay, grammar, subject-verb agreement, your sentence structures, all these things. So note that grammar cannot be improved overnight. Okay, so I highly recommend that you work on your grammar. Don't just think of grammar as, you know, a chore. Okay, but because this is very important. Ultimately, this is a language paper. You need to have good grammar. And think about it in this way, right? If you improve your grammar in writing, you can also improve the marks for the other components of the paper as well. Okay, so I think it makes a lot of sense to focus on grammar. Okay, make sure that you learn good grammar, practice it often. You don't practice it, you lose it, you grow rusty. Okay, and that will surely help you in your composition writing. And next, boost your vocabulary. Okay, now I've seen students gotten so used to using certain words or phrases. Every time we get them to practice, they always use back the same words, same phrases, same expressions, even the same connectors. Okay, so there's not enough variation in their writing. Now, what you want to do as a student is to demonstrate that you have done your part in learning the vocabulary. So the composition is a good way, right, for you to demonstrate that you've done your reading, okay, you have learned new words, and you are able to use them correctly. Okay, so boost your vocabulary. Okay, there are many ways that you can do it. Okay, reading model composition is one of them. Okay, working on vocab list is one of them. Okay, for my students, primary school students, I have some spelling lists for them. I also have model compositions worksheets for them where they learn the good phrases, okay, for writing compositions. After that, I leave it up to them, right? Okay, and I always encourage them to use some of these phrases in their stories. And the more they practice, okay, the better they become. Okay, but vocabulary, just like grammar, okay, needs to be a consistent process, a regular, consistent process every week, every day. Okay, students should be looking to improve their grammar as well as to learn new words. You cannot wait until you cannot wait until like PSLE is coming, right, in a few weeks time, right? So in these few weeks, how many new words can you learn? You're not going to learn like 1,000 words in these few weeks, right? Okay, it takes time, all right? Therefore, every week, okay, I strongly recommend students to learn some new words, 20 words. If you think that's too many, 10 words. right? Even 5 words is better than 0, right? So you learn 10 words a week, 1 month is 40 words, and then you do the math, right? After 1 year, how many new words do you know? Okay, so I know they may not be tested, right? Okay, but composition writing for sure, okay, there will be opportunities which you create yourself, okay, so that you can use some of those new words that you have learned, okay? Okay, I think the next item on my slide, I think not many students like to do that, especially for those who are shy. Okay, always try to vet through situational responses with tutors or teachers, because some of these situations, for example, you're writing composition about a fire, okay, that's a common topic in PSLE. And of course, not everyone has had that experience, okay, with fire, right? Is an emergency situation, right? So what are some possible responses, good responses, okay, that we can teach to the students, right? So if you're going to write a composition on that, please check through your answer with an adult to make sure that your response or your answer is a sensible one, okay, and it's a believable one, right? Okay, it's something that could happen in the real world, okay, and then it makes sense, all right, to the people reading the composition. Okay, and the next item, you should put this on your list of preparation as well. Explore possible endings for various plots. Now, possible endings, like let's say you're writing a composition with conflict, right? Okay, and well, conflict, the two characters in the story could reconcile. That's one possible ending, right? So if there's a reconciliation, right, then what are some of the possible expressions in terms of language that we can use to describe that, right? Do we use the words like apologetic, apologize profusely, and so on and so forth, right? But if you change the ending, right, what if the two friends never make up, right, due to the conflict, right? They ended the friendship, then you will probably need a new set of vocabulary to describe the ending as well. So I think it's always useful to explore possible endings, okay, and then well, you as the student, right, can let the students choose for themselves, right, whether they want a happy ending, sad ending, whatever, right? Okay, so I think with all these tips, hopefully it can help you to achieve some of the items for the checklist that we've just discussed. Okay, if you feel that you need to run through the video again to look at the checklist, just go back, rewind, okay, pause, maybe write down some notes, copy down some notes, and surely that will help you with your composition writing. You might think that we are running out of time. PSLE is coming up in just a few short weeks, okay, but still every little bit you learn, okay, could add maybe a few more marks to your final grade. Okay, so continue to work hard for the PSLE examination. Okay, with that said, you can actually end the video now, okay, or if you want to explore more resources, just stay tuned, okay, because I'm going to talk about a new composition writing guide that I've just completed. Okay, actually, you know, I've always wanted to do this, okay, but as you know, coming up with resources can be very time consuming, so it took me a long time. Okay, and I also want to build up enough experience teaching compositions, okay, in order to make sure that I have something good for all of you. Okay, so I call this guide The Right Way to Write Model Compositions Volume 1. Okay, I even break up the volume. Like I said, I've identified 21 commonly tested themes. Okay, and I want to go through all my students. So volume 1 will start with the first 7. All right, so I base all my stories on the latest PSLE syllabus, okay, including exercises that the students can practice for their PSLE composition, right? Okay, and we go through some of the situational responses with all the explanations, right, to explain why the writer has made certain decisions in their writing. Okay, so this will help the students to understand better the intent behind the writing. Okay, so that's where they pick up the writing skills, right? I'm trying to write all the stories in a light-hearted, short story format to keep things interesting, okay, and also to enhance the reading experience. Okay, I've even thrown in some illustrations. Okay, hopefully this will make it more interesting for the students. All right, so where to get this model compositions guide? All right, I think I've just posted it on my Shopee, alright? And then I'll try to leave the link somewhere in the description of this video, or you can just send me a direct message, okay, via one of my social media channels, right, on YouTube or on Facebook or even on WhatsApp, right? You can find my contact information or on my website, and then let me know you would like to purchase a copy of this, and I'll be happy to send one to you. All right. So with that said, I've come to the end of the video, right? So if you're interested in improving your improving your writing, okay, improving your English, okay, and you're serious, okay, about really boosting your English scores, and you want to sign up for lessons, you can always visit my website at EnglishTuition.org. Right, with that said, we've come to the end of the video. Thanks for watching, and I will see you soon in the next video. Bye.